Charlie? You there? If it's about the Colt Eastwood clock, I'm ready to be zapped, okay? Huh, I guess he's not watching any Colt Eastwood videos. That's weird. He's not even by his Xbox? Something's not right. Charlie, are you okay? Charlie?
Yeah.
Welcome to Top Peasants of the Week, a series I decided to whip out of my ass, if I had an ass, which I don't, because I have a stick. Anyways, a series I decided to half-ass in order to fill in gaps of the week so you guys have something to watch. I'm going with the quarterings method of minimal effort and maximum profit. Only you won't get 50 videos about me complaining about Brie Larson. Instead, you'll get 50 videos about me complaining about console peasants, which I think you guys enjoy for some reason. And honestly, I couldn't decide whether I wanted to do a separate series covering separate peasants. You know, one for ponies, one for Xbots, one for Nintendrones, but I thought that would be too much work. So instead, I'll gather all the stupidity of this week and we'll make fun of it. If you see any stupidity out there, feel free to take a screenshot of it and send it to my totally not Twitter. This isn't me. Wink wink, I promise this is not my Twitter, or to my Discord. There's a high chance yours will be featured. Anyways, apparently this week was Xbox week, in which Xbox reveals something that we already knew, and Xbots freak out over it. And then PC gamers find out that it's tech that's been around for ages. You know, the Xbox has that cool thing called Quick Resume, which is really nice and a lot more practical on the Xbox, let's be fair, but obviously you can have multiple games open on the PC and Alt+Tab. You can Alt+Tab out of your game, go look at your fucking porn, and then Alt+Tab back in your game, or just press the power button, put your PC into sleep, switch it back on, and your game is still running. Or have an outage. Once power gets back on, guess what? Your shit's still there. Apparently for Xbox, this is new shit, where you can boot right back into a game where you left off. Something that apparently you can't do on PC, which you can. And I'm not trying to undermine this feature, because it's going to be a lot more mainstream and a lot more practical on the Xbox, like I said. What I instead intend to do is stop the spread of misinformation and be an asshole.
Cold boot quick resume, not a thing for PC.
Well, obviously, cold boot quick resume is not going to be a thing on the PC because when you cold boot, you intentionally wipe all the RAM. But when you're not intending to do that, if you just press the power button and then press it back on, everything is still there. If people wanted to close their shit to dump the RAM, that's what they would intentionally do. But you don't have to do that. You can still have your game suspended. You can still have your software and shit on the side too. And everything will be right there. See, I've had an outage happen, and once power came back on, it was still there. I didn't lose my progress on Dark Souls 3. It was all still there, so I have no idea what this motherfucker is talking about. Clearly, this guy doesn't even know how a PC works.
Gentlemen, please allow me to do the honors.
Our good friend Mario Sniper, who you should all subscribe to, because he deserves it, comes out showing us a video where he turns his PC off, turns it back on, and the game is still there.
That's not a cold boot. That's sleep.
Please stay on console.
We will build a great wall along
Sony headquarters.
You don't even know what a cold boot is. Hold the power button till it turn off and turn on.
When you get a new computer, you might have trouble turning it on for the first time. That's because there's a proper procedure to turn on your computer. Now, the first thing you want to do is get a topical antibiotic like Neosporin and just put a little bit on the screen. This is going to kill off any leftover viruses from the factory.
That is basically the same thing as sleep mode, man.
It's not. RAM has to dump the information that only happens when turned completely off. Sleep mode keeps the information in RAM at a low power state.
Does this motherfucker not know about hibernate mode? At least someone has to tell him about hibernate mode.
So go into hibernate mode then? That is different than sleep mode. It turns off the entire system and saves everything to storage.
Hibernate causes problems over time.
I'm literally grasping at straws!
Ladies and gentlemen, this is the first goalpost move of the evening. Okay, that doesn't count for him, apparently not, because it will have problems, so it doesn't count, because it has to be problem-free, even though we don't have enough hands-on experience with the Series X and all future titles to see how efficient that will be. That doesn't mean it's not a good feature and that's not worthy. It's just having things stored in your SSD is not new, alright?
Had to put this in Premiere and add mosaic blur to my username, but here's an uncut video. This is on a bog standard SATA SSD.
Hold on, I'm gonna try this real quick. Where's that switch? Oh, why don't you, look at this? It's working.
No hibernate mode. I said hibernate mode can do it, but it's not a good thing to keep doing. The PC will maintain running 5 games constantly. Go in and out of hibernate mode, it will cause crashes of those programs and games.
And there he goes again, ladies and gentlemen. The goalpost has been moved yet again.
Is that a challenge I smell? Had to split this up because it was over Twitter's time limit by a minute or so.
Let's see. Let's flip this to be sure. Let's turn this back on. Why don't you, look at this? Everything still seems to be fine.
He's already dead!
What more is there to say? Hibernate/sleep has been the solution for many PC users for a long time now. I hardly ever fully shut down my PC, unless I absolutely need to. Let's also not forget that we still have to see RTX IO implemented, because the load times we are currently seeing on the PC are just a bit faster than that on the Series X. And that's without RTX IO. And supposedly there will be support for RTX IO on the 2000 series cards as well. So someone like me who already has an NVMe and an RTX 20 series card is already set to match the Xbox. Quick resume is awesome, but once we reach a state where we can just zip into games faster than anything we've ever seen before, supposedly, then why the fuck is anyone going to care about quick resume?
Quick resume feature speed on PC. Troll post just for those who said show me quick resume running on PC.
Obviously it's a troll post, alright? This is not the same as quick resume, we know, Colt Eastwood. We know it's not the same thing. So no one should take it serious.
No, the question is, how much did you pay for that PC? More than $3,000? Less than $9,000?
I had to hit the pen for that one. I just need the pure THC extract at this point. I need to numb myself. Someone help me, dear God. You can't help but admire console peasants. They truly believe that the tech they're getting in their Xbox and their PS5 is worth $3,000 to $9,000. You think SSDs, ray tracing, 4K, and 120 FPS is going to cost you $3,000 or $9,000? We've been over this meme many times, alright? It wasn't true back then, it's not true now. My PC barely even made the $1,000 mark. Had I not had to pay for shipping, I bet you anything I wouldn't have reached the $1,000 mark. And yet my PC can do 1440p, 120 FPS, it can do 4K, it can do ray tracing, and soon it's going to have super fast load times, supposedly. If you spent just a little bit of time doing some research, instead of pretending like you like Crackdown 3, you would have known that you could build a PC with the capabilities of a Series X and PS5 for about less than $1,000. Here's a head start. Here's this NVMe Gen 3 right here, okay? This thing will get you by fine with next gen, all right? You can move to a higher storage later on if you want to, but since Gen 3 will be supported just fine, you're going to be okay. Helping the incapable. I'm such a good person, aren't I?
Funny watching these Series X previews, and these mans losing their shit over load times. PC man's been on that, LOL.
PC was never $299 to $499. And here we go, once again, Colt Eastwood continuing the tradition of telling people that you won't be able to build a PC that can match the current gen consoles. But just wait a year from now when none of this is true, and he still worships Xbox for providing us tech that we've had for years and features we've had for years. I mean, sure, you can brag about the console being $299 and $499, but if it's still not as capable as my PC, why the fuck am I ever going to turn my head and care about it being cheaper? It took you guys nearly a decade to get here, alright? I'm sorry if I'm not moved.
The Xbox Series S is a wonderful and affordable machine with power behind it, but I've noticed since DS was analyzed by DF that a lot of people are really reaching with it. The S isn't going to run at 1440p with ray tracing at 60 or 120 frames per second with all titles. A 2080 Super can't even always hit that.
How can you not love PMS Jordan? Go follow her on Twitter. Like, if you want the ultimate troll posts from one of my favorite PC gamers out there, you gotta follow this chick. She's great. Maybe I gave the Xbox Series S a little more credit than I thought. It might be more of a 1080p 60 than a 1440p 60 box. Still nothing wrong with that. It's a hell of a deal for 300 bucks, can't go wrong with it. But for people to expect a box like this to do 1440p 120 FPS with ray tracing on modern games is pretty asinine. Her point stands, yes, a 2080S can't even do that in some games. What made us think a $300 Xbox Series S could? Oh right, that's right, we're talking about console peasants, my bad. Nothing's impossible, is it?
A 2080s is A, not the strongest first-gen ray tracing capable GPU.
Check out the big brain on Brad.
Alright, yes, a 2080S is not the strongest first-gen ray tracing capable GPU. It's not exactly helping anyone's point?
B, killed by ray tracing as the 2K series was more or less a playtest for ray tracing.
Thus far, any sort of ray tracing we've seen from the Series X and the PS5 has been a performance killer or very, very selectively used. So something tells me AMD's ray tracing on the consoles and maybe RDNA 2 overall may not be that impressive. After all, AMD is just playing catch up with this tech.
C, not comparable to an AMD-based system with a
different way to trace the rays.
At this point, he doesn't even know what the fuck he's talking about. He's just throwing shit against the wall and hoping something sticks.
D, not dedicated to gaming like a console GPU is.
Sure. What the fuck?
Not dedicated to gaming like a console GPU. For the love of God, a console's GPU, yeah, sure, it's dedicated for gaming, sure, yeah. But a PC's GPU is dedicated for gaming, multitasking, rendering videos, editing videos, fucking creating games. Just because a console has a GPU and it's dedicated to the console does not mean that that console's GPU is by default more powerful. Now, I don't know where he got his information, but by default, I'm gonna blame Colt Eastwood. Listen, guys. There's not enough drugs in the world that can really help me cope with this utter stupidity. I've done what I can. I've even decided to take the easy way out by burning Charlie's clock and seeing if he could just zap me into oblivion. But he's not here. It's almost as if he knows that's what I wanted. He knows that me living on, having to respond to peasants, is a fate worse than death. Look at this shit. Dedicated hardware so it would automatically perform better. Is that why the PS4 dedicated GPUs totally outperform the 1060? This is not how hardware works. I know Sony and Microsoft tell you a lot of things, but nearly everything that they've implemented is something that the PC has done. Don't forget to send me some peasant comments if you want yours covered once a week.
Hey guys, if you were wondering who that sexy manly voice belonged to, then look no further, as it's me, Necro13, and I have some stuff to shell out to you, like going to my twitch.tv/necro_13, where I do a lot of streams with my VTuber model. You can also keep up with me on Twitter, where there's a lot of big anime titties, and also my YouTube, where I upload whenever I—
And that's your few seconds of fame. On to more pressing matters, I gotta go look for Charlie. And until then, Papa Frit will be seeing all of you and your gorgeous sexy faces a lot sooner than later.
Everything I do is just too sweet.